I have a question, if I may. Many of us, like yourself, come from families that are not Buddhist, and sometimes we deeply go into the practice. How do we explain to the families and loved ones that are practicing in other traditions what we're doing? How can we be filial and respectful of the traditions that we came from and help kind of build a bridge of understanding to family members and loved ones who may not have the same practices?
If you present Buddhism as an other alternative, something different from another tradition, another culture, another religion, then you've set up an irreconcilable problem. And there's no way, because you'd have to say mine's better than yours. Or you'd even have to say I'm going to this, which by itself indicates that mine's better than yours. Because why would you go to it if it wasn't better? Which then could be read as a rejection, an alienation from what somebody else believes. If you see them as equal, in the sense that these are just tools of self-discovery, and whatever is appropriate for one may not be appropriate for another at a different time, but not better or worse, then you can at least begin a conversation that honors and saying, wow, that seems to be really working for you. Super. It's not working for me. Here the other day, he's putting hot sauce on his jiaozi. I'm saying, well, that's a perfect good way to ruin a jiaozi, is putting on hot sauce. And so it's like, that's the other religion, the hot sauce. You eat the jiaozi the way I eat it. That's the right way. And you're going, oh, that doesn't work for me. And I don't say, oh, okay, well, this guy, kick him away from the table. He's a heretic. It's like, de gustibus nanis disputantum, the Latin. In taste, there's no disputing. Okay? And the same thing is taste. Religion is medicine. Okay? It's food. And if it tastes good to you, try telling a child, this is good for you. I've tried that. It comes right back out again. And not only that, they'll start throwing it at you. So why force feed anybody with food or medicine? Basically, we don't need any religion whatsoever if we're true to ourselves. But because we get lost and confused and we get a little twisted out of shape, we need orthodontists, orthopedic surgeons, and whatnot. So if you take this approach, and by that I mean you're not judgmental. So you can't wear this righteousness on your sleeve. I'm a Buddhist. Ta-da! Oh, really? Come on. It depends on how you wear this. For most people, if they see genuinely that you're opening it up and becoming true to yourself and whatnot, whatever you're doing, they can relax a little. But if you're righteous, it already indicates that you haven't owned this. You're taking it on as an identity or a style or as a way of fighting or whatever. So you got to totally be true in what you're doing. At least with parents, that goes a long way because they know you. They know you when they try to put that first foot in what you do. So they know if you're really being true to yourself, they'll back off a little bit. The next thing is you don't try to convert anybody because that's just another form of fighting. And it's like saying my food is better, so you don't go down that road. But I think ultimately you have to drop the big B and get down to Buddhism as a way of knowing, a way of discovering, a way of reflecting and thinking things over deeply, rather than a belief system that's better or worse and externally, oriented in that way. So that would be the first approach I take to it. And we don't do a very good job of that. Obviously, the world is filled with people who are killing and fighting each other in the name of their religions. So either the founders of those religions were really screwed up, or we misinterpreted what that message was. And we turned something that's meant to be a raft into a battleship. And clearly there's no basis for that. That being said, I think you'd have to redefine what you're doing this is the study of the mind in all its states. What I'm looking into is where do all religions come from? Not what particular religion is better or worse. Because, honestly, most people would recognize what's better or worse depends on the person. Because people have their own things that they just figure out and they steer by. Even with children, you can't. What is the children going to be? You can't make the child be something. There's a seed, you can create the water, the light, and whatnot, and they'll blossom into whatever they're going to be. You try to micromanage and control. See, a lot of this fighting comes from controlling. And controlling comes from feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. And so I want to convince you, I want to convert you, because then I'll feel like I'm more. No. So you got to watch out for that. But you're asking the question, where did all the religions come from? Where did all the different cultures come from? They come from the mind. Oh, if they come from the mind, then you're looking into the mind. And so rather than having a religion, you have a way of inquiring, a way of reflecting, a way of getting to know yourself. And you could even say, this religion helped me to a certain point, but at this point, I needed to go further and deeper. So it's not a rejection, it's actually, I'm building on it. So I could say to somebody, I didn't reject my Catholicism. It took me to this point of which I'm grateful. But I still had questions that couldn't be answered. And so I'm pursuing those. And I don't have any choice but to pursue them. And so it's not a rejection of something else. But I'll tell you a story that's really good in this life, at least philosophically good. I don't know if, when we were on the bowing pilgrimage, Hung Sure didn't talk, I talked. And at first I thought that's going to be cool. But then I got all Megan type questions. And it's like, oh man, these are really tough. And people would come out and ask these questions and I never know what to say. And I go, babble, 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 blah, blah, blah. And I go, oh, that was pretty good. Then a week later, Master Wa would come out and say, so what's up? Oh, people, what kind of questions? I said, they ask these questions, what did you say? And I go, babble, babble, blah, blah. And he'd go, oh, jeez. And he'd give a one-line answer. He'd go, why didn't I think of that? That's such a good answer. Because he not only answered the question, but he answered the heart of the questioner. Like somebody said, hey, you're a left home person. Why did you leave home? Why did you renounce everything and become a monk? And Master Wa would say, if you can tell me why you can't, I'll tell you why I did. And I was like, whoa. So he turned around and said, well, because being a monk is such and such. He's saying, what you're actually saying is, why can't you? So this time, a very devout Christian woman came out. And we were in the Big Sur area, and this big pink car pulls up. I think it was a pink Cadillac, right? And you smell this fragrance, this really heavy perfume. And then you're click, 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 click. This woman walking down the highway, and these two little dogs, these lap dogs on her leash. And she's walking up, and there she is, and Hung Sure is. And I'm going, okay. And he points to me, and she comes up to me, click, click, click. What are you doing? So I say, we're Buddhist monks on a pilgrimage from Bine. Oh, she says, what a waste of time. I said, okay. She said, do you see these two dogs, Fufu and Fifi here? Jesus gave me those. Oh, okay. And you see my nice pink Cadillac? Jesus gave me that. And she says, and there's my house up there, that nice with the view of the ocean. Jesus gave me that. And she said, what did the Buddha give you? And so there we are in our robes, bowing and whatnot. And I go, blah, 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 blah. And so I think, and she says, pfft, and she walks away. And I think, oh, I didn't do it. So the next week, Master Wa comes out. So what's going on? And Hung Sure, now Hung Sure can talk when Sure was there. So usually what Hung Sure does, tell him what you did, tell him what you said. So I said, well, she came on, she said, da-da-da. And Sherpa said, what'd you say? And I said, I went blah, 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 blah. Oh, I said, nah. I said, well, what would you say? I was really getting frustrated. And she said, Master, well, what'd she say? Well, he gave me this, he gave me the dogs, he gave me the car, he gave me this. And, Jesus gave me all that. What did Buddha give me? And I said, sure, what did she say? He says, oh, the Buddha gave me Jesus. And I'm going, whoa. And at first I thought, that's kind of glib. And then I thought, no, that's really profound. Because what he was saying is that all beings, the whole spectrum of the Dharma realm is made from the mind alone. The heavens, the hells, everything in between. And so what he's saying is the Buddha, the mind gave me Jesus. He wasn't putting Jesus down. He's just saying going to the root and the source. And the mind also gave me the Buddha, right? Because Buddha is the mind. And so like the answer was totally, first of all, would have stopped her. Because it's like, yeah, where did Jesus come from? But secondly, it would put her back onto a fundamental mind ground teaching. It's like, wow. And even, it's like so fast. I thought, I want to get that skill. And I think the reason he had that skill was because there was nothing in between. He wasn't fighting. He wasn't trying to convert her. He was just right there. And I've seen this so many times. Without that in between, actually you can be very, very skillful. But as soon as you have a wish to do something, it spoils it. It's the thief within the virtue.
今天我们共同研究的是这个佛教与世界的和平。佛教就是和平，和平就是佛教，这个没有冲突。你要是学佛的人，就是学和平；不学佛的人，就是不和平。为什么这么说呢？学佛的人都要学这个无争三昧。无争是没有任何的争执，这个争就是人这不要的俺们要，不和人争；人家要的俺们不要，这是不和人争。这个争啊，为什么有这个争字？这个争字是从什么地方来的？是从人的心里。因为一争啊，就没有和平。你要不争，就是和平。你和平，就是没有一切的斗争；不和平，就是斗争。在佛住世的时候，是正法坚固；佛入涅槃之后，是相法坚固。那么到了这个末法时代，只是斗争坚固的时候，所以才说争是胜负心，与道相违背。一争呢，就和这个修道就相违背，变成四相心。你一争了，就有我相，有我相就有了人相，有了人相就有了众生相，有了众生相就有寿者相。所以说变成四相心，由何得三昧？你生了四相心，从什么地方会得这个正定正受呢？你学佛法，学其他的宗教，学任何的法门，你有了真心，争强论胜的心，这就是不和平了，这就是在那儿斗争了，生斗争心。所以才说争是胜负心，与道相违背，变成四相心，由何得三昧？你有这个真心，你怎么会得到这各宗教的利益？所以没有利益就是害处，就是对人有一种危害性，对人的生命有威胁，这就是不和平。所以俺们想要世界和平，先要从这个不争而做起。